Hey, I am Kristen. This is my dog, Cowboy, in the back. I watched the Terror and Triumph documentary and I found it really moving. And I have like a list of things that I wanted to comment on. So like the first statistic that they gave us was that 1.5 million kids were illiterate, which just blew my mind because I'm sitting here, I'm learning about this. I have Black students in my classes, and it's just crazy to think that there is a world that was not that long ago where you were like, if your skin was dark, you weren't allowed to read. It blows my mind. And then also they said that the white supremacy was the law of the land. And then it had this visual of a car driving by with a Confederate flag flying off the back, and that visual really struck me because it just feels like such a different world than the one we're living in. When what really kept striking me the entire time was the fact that these people are alive and telling their stories. Like, this was not that long ago, and this is a history that, like, there's still racism. And like, even though like the end of the documentary ended and it was amazing, Brown versus Board of Education, and schools were not segregated anymore, and it was amazing. They were all like, thank God they listened to us. But there's still so much racism today that it's hard to watch something like this and be so, I mean, obviously the progress is incredible. You can't deny that, but like, to sit there and just be like thrilled, like, you have to acknowledge the fact that there's still racism. Like, the scenes where they showed the police brutality look exactly like the police brutality we have now, and the riots and all of that. It like, in one sense, so much has changed, and in another sense, not that much has changed. Another thing that's kind of like a personal connection was the violence in Georgia. I spend a lot of time in Georgia because my boyfriend's whole family is from there, and to just sit there and watch, like, it just, like, I almost couldn't bear to watch it. Like, this like I keep saying, this history is not that far removed, and they're sitting there telling their story to the camera. Like, it's not that long ago. Like, my grandparents lived through it. Like Professor Boston said, her husband has colored on his birth certificate. Like, it struck me the whole time how not far back in history that this is, and how, while yes, there's been a lot of progress, especially since the Jim Crow era, there's still such bad racism. And like, there are so many parallels that can be drawn between that time and the Black Lives Matter movement and the police brutality. And it just, like, my overall thought is like, we need to work on, I mean, obviously everybody hopefully thinks this, but like, we need to work on creating a better tomorrow for people of color. And while they have this horrible history that's almost hard to watch, we need to work on actually finally ending racism. And I don't know what it's going to take, but that was one of my big takeaways from this. And then just another thing was seeing the strength and resilience of the people that were sitting there telling their stories, who were trying to vote when they couldn't vote and were getting mailed bullets, and they were going to get beat to death if they voted, and they tried anyway. Like, it was just so inspiring to me, and it makes me realize my privilege, and especially in relation to the white privilege reading that we read, where it listed out all the things. It really was amazing to me and very inspiring.